Just as roads enhance mobility and schools create pathways to educational opportunity, housing can enable safety, security, and economic mobility. The U.S. is short over 7.3 million affordable homes. By itself, the market is not meeting our country's needs. Over the past 30 years, housing prices continue to rise while wages remain stagnant. This widening gap is causing a crisis across America, especially for low-income households. Fortunately, organizations across the country are solving these challenges through local governments and community groups. We are witnessing a national movement to preserve and build new housing and reduce housing insecurity.
Well, I wish that people would know how hard it is to build affordable housing. It's very, very difficult.
One thing's that really been a challenge in the affordable housing space is just the sheer cost to develop units today.
Most have to go to 6 or 7 sources of financing to put together an affordable housing transaction.
Starting in this business back in the late 90s, I've seen those costs almost double. To develop one single affordable housing unit, depending on where you're located in the country, could be anywhere from $300,000 to $1 million per unit.
The community that I serve is called Liberty City. Affordability is outrageously out of control in our community, simply because of the fact that the income that we earn does not allow us to be competitive in the affordable housing availability.
Governmental entities create a lot of the barriers for affordability that we deal with.
We need an organization that would provide early capital while these community members are gathering and trying to imagine what their communities would be like, because you've got to spend some money to actually create that dream, and the riskiest part of that is the early lending.
One of the biggest challenges I think we see now in regards to financing for affordable housing in the formal banking space, they are more focused on a return on investment and not so much the impact.
When you're not sure you can raise all the rest of the capital, you got to spend some money on architects and you got to spend some money on digging into the ground and make sure that the ground is safe.
The definition of affordability must be mapped out to the community and the conditions of that community.
You have organizations that are committed to providing affordable housing around the country. And in doing so, they recognize that they're not going to get to the same revenue stream that their typical market rate deals might provide, but they're also doing that as a way to impact that community so that they're providing good, stable, quality housing.
As a community development financial institution, Community Housing Capital does what few can.
Community Housing Capital's mission is to provide equitable access to capital to NeighborWorks organizations. They are local, community-based organizations that develop affordable housing, but they do so much more than that. They also provide social services, educational programs out of their buildings. They're really community infrastructure.
Comité serves mostly families that need help with assistance with homes. We're in a border community, so we work a lot with people in transition, people who are barely making it to the United States and need some help finding a way to own a home, which is not just the American dream, it's a dream everywhere.
Without that pathway, then the consequences are broken families. Without that pathway, then the consequences are kids who will not go to school. Without that pathway, the quality of life diminishes. So it's incumbent upon all of us to understand that the pathway must be a pathway for equality for all.
Our job is to get them capital so they can keep doing what they do, to get equity into those communities.
The foundation of making that impact is building strong Black families. The foundation for strong Black families is having a house to live in, a house to live in that is affordable.
When you lead in terms of putting capital into communities and creative projects, and people's physical environment changes, the people walking down the street feel very differently about their community.
They're seeing new buildings up and they're looking like, I can live in affordable housing and not letting people see that you're on welfare. No, it's not like that.
I'm sitting on top of the world.
I almost cry. It's been a difficult journey. 13 years now sounds like a nothing, because now I have my house.
They helped me since the beginning. They just walked me through the whole process, and it was really nice.
You have accomplished something when you walk into a house that somebody just couldn't afford any other way and see them become the core of the community, because I think home ownership provides more than just the actual physical home.
It's not just about dollars.
we all can live in vibrant, healthy, safe communities where we can thrive.
Affordable housing happens when all of us, community members, investors, and policymakers, come together to pass legislation, increase funding, and advocate for safe, affordable housing in our neighborhoods.
Part of our program is to make sure that our community understands the importance of the power of voting. So you can't talk about affordability and not talk about changing those who make those policies.
Go to those zoning hearings and show up and tell people why you think affordable housing is important in your community. I'm hoping that both local, state, and federal governments pass legislation that's been sitting in front of them for many years now to provide more subsidies and, frankly, get the private sector busy at investing in affordable housing.
To learn more about what Community Housing Capital can do for you and your community, visit communityhousingcapital.org/invest.